record show 7-0. Thank you. Item number 6-4, Ms. Trustee Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I wanted to pull this item just for discussion because in our notes, as I was looking, I know that we've really talked about our lower level grades, our kindergarten, being the foundation, especially for reading and writing. And I was a little concerned that there were so many kinder classrooms, specifically bilingual, and as well as some of these campuses that are high need. And thank you, Elizabeth. And Dr. Powell, sorry. And so I did read kind of the measures that you all are going through to kind of address those. Could you just...
Sure. So currently, as we staff at the beginning of the year based on projections. We anticipate that the projections will come out the way we projected. If they do not and they're over the number, then it's a potential adding a teacher unit. And so at the beginning of the year, as we look at those grade levels, we talk to each of the campuses and we talk to them about adding a teacher or taking teachers away. And as you can see, in many of the campuses where you see that there were some, in the lower grades in the kindergarten, their growth came after the school year, so that number grew, so we didn't anticipate that. So we gave the option to the principal to hire somebody or to give them an additional paraprofessional. Because at the time of the year in August, all the best teachers are gone. So most of the principals opted to have an extra paraprofessional in the classroom so that there's still 2 adults plus the paraprofessional that goes in and out throughout the day anyway. So the principals were given options about would you rather have a kinder teacher or would you rather have a paraprofessional to support the classes that are over.
Okay.
And like I mentioned earlier, that at that time of year, our best teachers are hired, so they're hard to find them. And then the other thing in some of our campuses where our 6 campuses that we have our pilot programs, in those classes, they currently in their pre-K classes, they have relay residents. So we anticipate that those people will graduate, we will be able to hire. And we also have some bilingual student teachers that we're looking at for January. So we'll look at it again then.
Yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to know, like what's the plan to remedy that, because I've just kind of heard from both sides, from teachers and things like that, and the concern, you know, was just that actually one had mentioned that the class size was a little low, between 16 and 18 students. Kinder teacher was pulled and now they're busting at the seams. And so how, you know, in regards to projections.
Correct. So we do the best we can. We look at the past 5 years of data, and Mr. Woods does a very good job looking at projections of the apartments, and we do the best that we can. When we give the teacher, we also look to see, are they going to need a waiver if we take that teacher? So we try not to take a teacher if it's going to cause a creation of a waiver. Usually at 16, that would not have created. That was very unfortunate that it did. But like I said, because we anticipate we have a lot of student teachers that we would recommend for hire, that in January, we'll take a look at those campuses and say, okay, it's time, kids are adjusted, we have some extra teachers that are good teachers, would you like to take another unit? So we'll look at it then as well.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of hear, and everybody else to kind of hear, what the plan is and that there is a plan and you all will keep us updated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in fact, with our Tier 3 campuses, we even allowed them to keep extra units where they needed them based on class size, that they knew that 3rd and 4th grade may be more difficult, so we allowed them to keep the extra units instead of pulling them.
Mm-hmm.
So at our Tier 3 campuses, all of them had the option of keeping those extra units if they needed them. And in some cases, because they didn't already have the unit, they preferred to get a para. So we did talk to principals as we worked with them on the waivers. And you saw at one of our Tier 3 campuses, they did have a waiver in 2nd grade. The reason for that waiver was they had less than the number of teachers needed. They chose to move that teacher to a higher grade level. And then we didn't take 2 units. So they had an additional 3 units, and they just chose to use them differently, and then we provided support with paras.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just kind of asked my peers, fellow board members and TASB, just kind of how that looks. And pretty much every school district does have waivers because you do the best that you can with trying to, you know, anticipate enrollment and things like that. We also know that, and I was also informed that, you know, if you don't do the waivers and you're over the class size, you can get sanctioned. And then that might be a monetary issue, and that's not what, I'm just gonna say, myself as a board member, I would rather spend that money
Sure.
elsewhere as opposed to a sanction.
Sure. We look very closely at the numbers, and each time that we get them from Tarek, he gives them to us monthly. We look at them, we look if there's anybody over, we add support prior to January, even if it's not a teacher, we do provide support. Or if they think that maybe they can hire a teacher, then at times we do allow them to hire if they can find somebody. But like I said, usually from August to December, it's really difficult to find strong teachers.
Okay, is there any way that we can get an update, maybe in January?
Yeah, what I'll do is each month as we do our updates,
Okay.
I can provide you a little overview in the board notes.
Okay.
And I'll just call class size waivers.
Right.
So we'll go into details about that because I think that that is an issue that the board wants to have.
Sure.
Because, I know I don't mean to cut you off, Ms. Bro, but we talked about this. Or can I proceed further? I just wanted to say that Class 1 waiver sizes is a hot button, always have been.
Sure.
And as a board member and one who have ran for elections, I know that this is a topic that people stand on as their mantra for why they're running, because they want the classroom sizes to be small. As a teacher in a classroom who have had 30 to 40 students in middle school, I understand classroom sizes, so it's not like I'm oblivious to it. However, as a taxpayer, people will want to know, how is it that you can justify, what is our starting salary?
When you include benefits, we usually say it's about 60,000, and we
So,
probably now more because we've raised our starting salary.
and I hate to make it about money, but some people do think about money because they have no kids in this district. So they do think about the money. So how can we justify $60-something thousand for a unit for 9 students with the number of mobility, with the rate of mobility that we have? Just as soon as you get those numbers fixed, they will change. The other part of it is it's horrible for students to have to be moved in the middle of the year, at this time of the year, after they've got comfortable into those
And that's a
classes.
conversation we have with the principals at the beginning of the year. Okay, what do you think is best for your kids? Would you rather have a para? I mean, because that is a conversation they have with us. I don't want to disrupt the class. And so we try to do what's best for the kids and the campus to make sure that they're getting the support that they need.
Well, Class 1 waiver size also is a conversation amongst the public and amongst other parents in other districts.
Right.
This waiver thing is not something that comes every year, it's this time. And I'll be challenged, and I'll ask people to go and find the districts who are not doing the waivers.
So that you know, as I did do that, I wanted to make sure that we were not above other districts to find out what they're doing to recruit teachers. So I did ask my fellow HR assistant suits out there, and they indicated that because they chose in their district of innovation to add that piece to it, that they were not putting waivers, so they were not requesting waivers. So this year, you may see that they said 0 requests, but I personally called them and said, that doesn't make sense to me. How did you get 0? And they said, because they chose to put that in their district of innovation, which we purposefully chose not to, and I understand why.
And we don't want to go there
Correct.
because the District of Innovation has also been a conversation amongst teacher
Correct.
organizations as well.
So that's why we chose
Because of
not
those
to.
things.
Yeah, and that's why we chose
Absolutely.
not to. And so we, obviously, you may see some that say 0, and that's not really.
Right, and I think that this is just an opportunity to have a public discussion.
Exactly.
Because it's always told that people are doing things and they're not being transparent. Class 1 waivers have been around since I've been a board member. We've always been very transparent about that. And I know that there's a thought that the public should know, but right now the law says that the board gets to decide. You
Right.
know, but this opportunity has also been given to all the public to have a statement, and we appreciate it, we accept those statements, but I think that people need to understand what are the backlashes if you decide. If the board were to decide not to take those waivers, does people understand the sanctions that will happen? And some people say, let's do that, but that's not fair to students or to the
Right.
employees of this district. I would not stand for that. So,
Yeah, and Madam President, that is why I brought the discussion out, because it does need to be before the public to know that that's the ramifications. I also talked to one of my fellow board member colleagues, and in their particular district, they chose to not give the teachers as much of a raise because they were going to hire more, and now they're kind of in a bind because they said there's none out there, no teachers out there. So now these teachers, unfortunately, they didn't get of the raise that they thought they should, and there's no teachers available. There's a teacher shortage across the state and the country. Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted
about
to
that tonight.
yeah, so I just wanted to bring that out so that we can have that discussion and know that there will be, there could be sanctions.
So what I will do is when we do our enrollment, when we receive that, each time we do that, we look at our numbers. I will provide you a class waiver information on those board notes. Okay.
And you're gonna make sure that they're tied to what it is that we see here, so we'll see if those
Yes.
numbers are going up and down?
Yes.
Okay, that's, I mean, at this point, this is what the board can do. They can hold accountability to it and make sure that, that they stay intact. I know it's unfortunate, it is. In my early years, I complained about the classroom sizes. But while we talk about the waivers are only in the primary grades anyway. We're not complaining about the numbers that grow large, and I won't say this district, but they grow large in middle schools and high school as well. So if we're gonna talk about waivers, let's talk about it across the board, because there are some students in secondary that are struggling, that they need a smaller classroom size as well.
We're pretty adamant about making our class sizes, even in middle school and high school, lower than our surrounding districts. So we try to keep our numbers up.
All right, sure.
I have two more questions. Sorry. Just a clarification. Is PING still the last Friday of October?
It's October
25th.
October 25th. That's the end of October.
So that actually happens after we have to approve or disallow classroom waivers.
Correct.
Okay. And I think I already know the answer to this, but it's been a while since I've been in a classroom. I know that with our mobility, I could walk into a classroom today with 18 students, because we don't turn students away. So 7 students could show up in my classroom tomorrow. What do you all do to fix that?
So just as I mentioned before, from August to December, we look at the numbers, and if the principals communicate that they're really struggling, we offer support through a paraprofessional, an extra paraprofessional, or a dedicated sub to work with them so that they can do pull-out, some small pull-out. They do sometimes interventionists. We talk to the principal and say, okay, we can't find a teacher right now, but these are our options. And we allow the principal to guide us in some of those questions. The other thing you mentioned was that the mobility. As you know, we add teachers at the beginning of the year and take away teachers, but after the school year goes, if it's October and a class gets down to 15 or 14, we would never pull that teacher because it disrupts the kids. So we keep that class low because it disrupts instruction and it disrupts the child. And so we don't pull them if they get low, we just add to it.
Thank you for your
I have a question.
Sure.
So when you say paraprofessionals, are you talking about like teacher aides? Because I don't
Yes,
know
ma'am.
what that is. So
Yes.
I just wanted to get some clarification that that's what that is. And so in those campuses, are we putting teacher aides in the classrooms, or is it like interventions? Because I heard it's both.
Both ways. It depends on the campus needs. Sometimes we'll put an extra paraprofessional that stays in the classroom all day.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll put an interventionist that does pull out and say they're struggling with reading, and so there'll be a reading interventionist and that they do pull out in that grade level. Sometimes it's an extra teacher in that unit that goes into the different classes that are over. It depends on what the campus desires.
Okay. And so in the staffing plan that we do before the budget, are we budgeting teachers aides in those classes based on previous year's projections or actuals, or are we waiting till snapshot day?
We budget for our current, teacher units.
Right.
We anticipate that.
Okay.
And then our paraprofessionals, we don't delete, we add as we see more bilingual students that may need support. So we usually look at the type of student, and then we'll add paraprofessionals. We don't budget for, okay, that may go over a class, so let's add more teachers. The only place I do that is our dual language classrooms, knowing that they can go up and down all the time. So I do budget for 10 extra paraprofessionals in case that happens.
Your teacher units are usually established by the number of students enrolled anyway, right? It's not paraprofessional, but it's.
Correct.
Based on ratio, based on the class size ratio, which I'll approve.
Correct.
Yeah. So the way I see it, we're really increasing our workforce in a sense, because we have an opportunity to place those individuals, paraprofessionals in the classroom. Let me ask the question then. Typically, I mean, with kindergarten, you do have paraprofessionals available.
Correct.
Okay.
Usually the campus has a dedicated kindergarten paraprofessional already dedicated to them, but then in these classes that they're larger sizes, we add an additional for that class. So there'll be 2 adults in that classroom all day.
Are there any other questions?
Just a quick point. So the issue is the question is a very fair question. The answer is more complex than the question. Because of the way the enrollment works, our enrollment works, it is difficult to project. However, I want to reiterate something that gets said, but very little attention gets paid to it. And we are in the throes of a teacher shortage like we have never seen before. And most of it is going to impact our bilingual kids. It's going to impact our youngest ESL bilingual kids. We provided you guys, and just so the community knows, the last 5 or 6 years of classroom size waivers have varied from a high in 2014 and 15. We had 78 waivers. We were 46 this year. No one's bragging about that. I wish I didn't have 46. I wish there were the teachers out there that we could hire to fill these spots. We can debate waivers, and that's a conversation that we can talk about. But until you solve what are you going to do about it and where the teacher's going to come from, the only solution you have is, well, you have 2. You can move them around like Elizabeth and her team does every day and works with the principals to do that, or you provide some type of para or teacher aid or whatever title you want to give them, just to give the teacher a chance to manage the classroom with another adult in the classroom. We've got a teacher issue going on right now that no one wants to talk about.
Absolutely.
And if you want to campaign on something, whether it's a board member, as a local elected official for the city or the state of Texas or the feds, that's the issue. And so,
That is true, and I neglected to add that is a true fact, the shortage of teachers. I know that many of my colleagues as educators as well, they're taxed with the fact that we can't get enough teachers, lesser known quality teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about kindergarten, we're not just trying to put a body in the classroom.
Correct.
We want, those people who are qualified, and they have qualified teachers, with the guidance and directions to the aides, I think that the students will be.
And I think exactly what one of our principals said. She says, I have a great paraprofessional that's been a paraprofessional that I'd like to put in there and hire somebody else to do the work that she does, because I know she'll do a better job than a teacher. So the principals are making tough decisions about how to best serve their kids, but they do make decisions what's best for their campus, and we allow that to happen as much as we can.
I just have a quick comment, and maybe just the process. I think I may have answered. I know, again, it's not paint and brush with everybody, but it's each campus understand conversation. If there's a shortage and some manipulation, some moving around, and then I believe the area suits or the leadership will work with the principal to kind of work out. If something doesn't work, if it's just not a good fit, and so forth, so some hardcore conversations happen
Yes.
to say this is what we really need to do in
In
the
fact,
process.
I've asked them all to submit what they're doing, so I know that they're doing, and we're monitoring it through my HR directors. And of course, the area suits also communicate with principals.
Okay, so this is on
Ongoing.
directors. Okay.
What I really appreciate about this, the report that we received, and I think it's going to be a great tool for us to really monitor the outcomes of those campuses. I think that, when it comes down to it, that's the greatest concern, those challenged campuses and their ratings, whether or not they would improve is what we, really want to make sure that happens. So we're looking forward to receiving that monthly report and to see.
We'll get that to you.
Okay. On that note, board, now that we've discussed this thoroughly, I'll accept a motion to approve item 6.4.
I make a motion to approve the class size waiver.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Moreno. Do I have a second? It's been seconded by Dr. Tron. All in favor of the classroom waivers? Opposed? Abstain. Okay. So what we have is 5 for, 1 abstain, and 1 against. Thank you. Items now, number 6.6.